What's up, gamers and geeks? Matt here with That's Fair Podcasting and Gaming Geeks Live. And in this video, I'm going to talk about what I once considered the three behemoths of the video game world when it came to single-player action-adventure games or single-player story narrative-driven RPGs. Now, these three behemoths I speak of at one time are Bethesda, Ubisoft, and BioWare. Now, with the RPG element, obviously you had the wasteland you could wander around in. You had all these different space age RPGs to the fantasy settings from magics and swords and wizards, dragons. And then you had your historical single-player driven games like the Assassin's Creeds that literally had you delve into France. You delved into America during the Revolutionary War, all the way to the Ezio period of the Renaissance Italy. But are we losing trust in these video game developers? Is that trust now gone? Or do you still have the faith that you once had in these three behemoths? So stay tuned. Man, I remember in my 20s and 30s and 40s and now my 50s, I remember, and I still do with some games, watching that proverbial clock at work, man. I'm always watching that clock, man, because I get off a little earlier because I go in a little earlier. So to me, 2:30, I get off at 2:30. I'm going home and I'm playing certain games, man. And I remember that, like if I'm going to Renaissance Italy, or if I'm controlling Commander Shepard, or if I'm heading back to the DC wasteland. Man, I remember those times. I remember enjoying just getting home and just instantly firing these games up, and they didn't disappoint. And it seemed like we were getting a new one every year. But if you are new here, please feel free to subscribe to That's Fair Podcasting or Gaming Geeks Live. Please like that video, help me in that algorithm like you've been doing. And if you don't do any of those and you just watch this video on why I think this is more or less the rise and fall of the three-headed Hydra monster that was front running in the video game industry, thank you so much for sticking with me. But before I get here and started, I just want to tell you all, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. From the day of this video being recorded, January 14th, I hit my first 500 subscribers. You guys, thank you so much. I can't even begin to tell you how much that means to me. It's just a personal thank you. You know, I know 500, I'm new at this. I've only been really going at this for a little over a half a year now, as far back as May of 2025 when I started posting these solo videos. But guys, I love the interaction. I love the feedback. I talk to every one of you if I can. And when I get that notification, it tells me, hey, so-and-so talked to you. I love chatting with you guys. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, from one gaming geek to another. Thank you so much. But anyway, I'm going to start with Bethesda when it comes to these behemoths that I once referred to. Now, these guys were the front runners, man. I mean, tell me you didn't race home no matter what you're doing, whether you were in school, whether you were at work, and you were playing the latest Mass Effect, the latest Assassin's Creed, or the Fallout, or even Elder Scrolls Skyrim, or even before that Oblivion, or Morrowind. I just remember being so heavily invested in these games, and I have to find myself constantly going back and playing these older games because the new ones are just sort of a letdown. From the progressive DEI shit that they're pumping out in most of these games now, to literally, no offense Bethesda, more immersion, less story, less interesting. So yeah, you know, I'm finding it so hard now with the games nowadays. That's why I go back and I keep replaying these games. That's why I'm constantly clamoring about these remakes. We got, you know, Black Flag, Assassin's Creed Black Flag remake supposedly coming out in March. We have the rumors of Fallouts being redone. I mean, guys, this is why I'm going back to these, because these one-time just badass leaders in the industry have just let us down over and over. So that's why I'm going to go with Bethesda first, because at least they're not constantly shelling out what these other two are shelling out as far as progressive shit. But what they are doing, and where they're failing, is they're giving us more. They just think that we want more immersion, less story. The stories are boring. Emil, whatever his name is, man, bro, jump ship, please. But anyway, Having said that, my first experience with Bethesda would have been Elder Scrolls Oblivion in 2006 when I first got the Xbox 360. And guys, I was just blown away. I mean, I'm like, wow, this game was, it was massive. It was my first Bethesda experience. I didn't play Morrowind until a little after, a little harder to go backwards in graphics, but Morrowind to me is probably the best pure overall Elder Scrolls game made. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion. But anyway, that was 2006. And in 2008, my first taste of Fallout was Fallout 3, the DC Wasteland. And I just remember, Liam Neeson talking, reading the book You're Special, the tonal snakes, the birthday party. And I know you guys are probably eagerly waiting for that remaster like I am so we can go back to the DC Wasteland. I know I'm waiting for it, and I can't wait. I will be purchasing it, and I will be doing a review on it. But guys, that could be a couple years down the road. They're starting to whisper more of a Fallout New Vegas first, given the nature of the series. But anyway, that was my 2008 experience. And at this point now, I'm like blown away by Bethesda. I'm like, there's no way they could do anything better. And they did. Now, not necessarily with story, mind you, in my opinion. But in 2011, Skyrim dropped. The story was, I think the best part about the storytelling was Dawnguard, just in my opinion. But the immersion was there. And that's what they started to live and die by, I think. That's why there was like 400 million re-releases of Skyrim. Because it was a great world to be immersed in. The cities like Markarth and Solitude and Riften and all these different cities, they were just, it was a wonder to actually, I loved, Castle Volkihar, and I loved the Dawnguard, castle. Skyrim opened up a new world for me as far as the fantastical version. And to me, that was Bethesda's last serious hoorah, was legitimately, like what? Now, are we really on 15 years now? Holy fuck knuckles. But yeah, 15 years since the last real good immersion. And I'll get to the last two next, but I'm going to go over the other ones first as to why they were the Behemoths and the king of the hill, so to speak. And I'm going to move on to BioWare. Now, my first BioWare experience was 2003 Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. To this day, par to none, my all-time favorite video game ever. I've always been a Warzy, big-time Warzy. It was always Trekker versus Warzy. I'm a Warzy. What the hell with Star Trek? And I'm a Gen X kid, man. I grew up in the 70s and the 80s. And I'm still growing up. Not necessarily height-wise, but yeah, I'm short. But anyway, the point is BioWare, my first experience, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, the first open world, open universe, really, Star Wars RPG where you could wield a lightsaber. And then in 2005, they came out with this game called Jade Empire. And as a martial artist myself, I had been in and out of martial arts most of my life since I was about 5. And I loved it. I loved the fantastical world of kind of an ancient but yet magical China. And I absolutely loved playing that. I played every style of character you could play through with Jade Empire. It's a great new IP. And I thought, wow, BioWare, man, you outdid yourself. Even though I thought Jade Empire might be a better game overall because I love martial arts more, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic will always be my number one. And then in 2007, they came out with Mass Effect. And I can speak for the rest of you Mass Effect fans, we were blown the away. I know I was. Commander Shepard, you had a badass new crew that you got to team up with. Caden Alenko, you had your Turian Garrus Vakarian, and you had Ashley Williams, but you did have the Asari Liara Tusoni. You did have Rex DeKrogan, and obviously, who can forget Tali? You had the best Quarian ever. And you got to command the Normandy. It was a brand new IP. And, EA hadn't quite gotten their hooks into them yet. And then 2 years later, EA finally did get their hooks, and the stamp was on the box, but the EA stamp. But Dragon Age Origins in 2009 was far worth the time. A beautifully crafted beginning of a great fantastical setting that would ultimately in 2024 be just completely shit on. And then in 2010, to me, BioWare's greatest success of all time is 2010's Mass Effect 2, the OG Suicide Squad. Man, I can't say enough about that game. I have the Legendary Edition that dropped in 2021, and the replay value is just off the charts still, par to none, fun. And it's BioWare's crowning achievement, by far. Now, you did have, I think in 2009, you had Dragon Age 2. Felt like EA started to really hammer it down. I think the apex was Mass Effect in 2010. But I think, no, it's 2011, not 2009. It's 2011, I believe. Dragon Age 2 dropped. And you could feel the Mass Effect, or I mean, you could feel the EA pull, most definitely. And then in, I think it was 2012, finally, you had Mass Effect 3 that bookend the trilogy. Of the trilogy, Mass Effect 3 came up short. It was a good ending to some degree. I enjoyed the multiplayer. I still have friends to it to this day. However, it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. It had the EA feel on it. Felt rushed. And, that's just my opinion. And then I think their last hurrah of making any kind of money, BioWare, was Dragon Age Inquisition. Don't quote me on it. Maybe 2014. But anyway, it was a good game. I enjoyed Dragon Age Inquisition. I didn't enjoy it as much as Origins. You could still feel the decline of BioWare in it, even though it was their last real moneymaker. And then I will go over their last 3 miserable bombs after I cover Ubisoft. Now, my first Ubisoft experience would have been Prince of Persia: Sands of Time on I believe the regular Xbox. But it'd be 2007's Assassin's Creed. Altair al-Lahad came out with the first Assassin's Creed in Jerusalem and all these other areas of the old school Crusade Middle East. And it opened up new ground. It opened up a brand new ambitious IP, and it created a plethora of fans almost overnight. And from that moment on, I was clamoring for a Japan one, and then we get this shit in 2025. And when I say shit, I mean actual feces of a game. And, you had the Ezio trilogy that came out, I think in 08 or 09, but then you had Brotherhood and Revolutions or whatever. And, anyway, guys, I enjoyed the Ezio trilogy. My favorite is Arnold Dorian. He's my favorite protagonist of the entire series. But as far as the best of the Assassin's Creeds, I got to go with Black Flag. I mean, I find myself actually sincerely excited for the remake that's coming out at the end of March of this year. I'm sorry, I will be front row and center. Upgraded engine and graphics in the Caribbean, yeah. Pirates, yeah. But as they progressed, I got to go with that Apex theory. I think that Black Flag was Ubisoft Apex. And from then on, it was a slow decline. Even if Valhalla in 2020 garnered more in the way of profit than any other Assassin's Creed game, you could feel the decline. It was there. And now what caused these declines? Well, obviously you have lesser experienced devs coming into these studios as these older devs either moved on or got pushed out. And 2 out of the 3, mainly Ubisoft and BioWare, they became a lot more progressive. You had these idiots coming along that thought they had the market cornered on making games, and they didn't. And I'll start with BioWare with that. You had 2017's Mass Effect Andromeda, a dog shit show from the jump. I mean, you had wonky graphics. It was a joke. I mean, it was terrible. Now, maybe if they had all new alien races and took Mass Effect out of the title and had nothing to do with Mass Effect and it was its own standalone IP, they might have had a shot. But where the hell are the Turians, man? You totally, or not the Turians, Quarians. You totally shit on the Quarians, man. I was waiting for that arc to come in and nothing. Even if I did play that slop pile of shite. But then in 2019, they tried their online. They did. They tried their hand at an online game. It was nothing like as good as Mass Effect multiplayer was. It was Anthem, which I believe now, as of January 14th, I believe is shut down now. Which is kind of really ironic. You can buy a game at full price, and then they just have the power to shut it down, and you get nothing out of it. So this is us grabbing our ankles. But anyway. And it was just after about 3 hours, I was done with it. The game dried out almost right away. It was repetitive. There was supposed to be a promise of an Anthem 2.0 fix that we never got. It was a weak attempt at an RPG. It felt like EA really had their hand up the ass of BioWare, working them like that puppet. And it was just absolute dog shite. And then their crowning achievement, I mean, if they had 3 plates of shit, let's call it the Olympic medals. They had the bronze plate of shit, the silver. Well, the gold plate of shit was way up here with Dragon Age the Veilguard, from preachy DEI bullshit to totally destroying a franchise, ruining the Qunari, which was like, if you literally look at the comparisons, it is absolute from gold to shit. And then you had Corinne Bush, who led this, who had to really get his message out there. He wanted you to know that this is about queer representation. Now, do I have a problem with queer representation? I most certainly do not. I have plenty of, gay people in my family, and you know what? I don't care about that. If it's organic, bring it on. The best game to do it organically was Baldur's Gate 3. Bar none. Because they made that game organically DEI ridden beautifully. And it wasn't like in your face. You had the choice, and in Dragon Age the Veilguard, you didn't have a choice. You had to sit through these cutscenes of bullshit, from pulling a barb to literally making me pull barf out of me. And it's just absolute garbage. BioWare should be ashamed of themselves. Now, to close it out with BioWare, they are currently working on the latest Mass Effect. Mike Gamble is heading that project. That's good news. Mary DeMarle, who was involved in the Deus Ex games, that is also good news. It's a Hail Mary attempt. It's 4th down. There's seconds left. They're on their own 50. That right now, that ball's in the air. Let's see if someone can come down with it. We could really use a Franco Harris immaculate reception right about now. I think BioWare needs it. Now, it's not lost, but they have less than 100 people because of that shit show that Veilguard did, literally gutting BioWare. So my faith in BioWare, as I close it out with BioWare, my faith is shook, but they've got some of the right people in charge. Mike Gamble has said anybody involved in the Veilguard is not working on this project. That's good news, guys. Here's the hoping. So as BioWare once was, BioWare is no longer. Bethesda. Where did they go wrong? Well, it started in 2015 with Fallout 4. Where do we go here? Well, you had the same thing, looking for a relative. I like the cryo freezing thing. But you started getting this creation club come along that had to save these games because BioWare can't do it themselves anymore. They have proven it. With just under 700 employees, I believe, they can't do it. I mean, they have to rely on modders now, man, and thank God, because modders are making better games than Bethesda are. Sorry, that's a fact. Or Bethesda is, but you know what I mean. And so in 2015, you take the crafting of building communities and cities and settlements out, that game is absolute shite. You should never have had a voice actor. I mean, it was bad. I mean, enough said. And then came 2023's Starfield. I've said this time and time again, you had an ocean-sized game in ankle-high water. You can give us all the planets you want to explore, but the problem is there's no depth. The depth was just not there. You had a very boring game. The replay value is absolute piss. I tried it again recently. I did a video not too long ago about possibly getting a Cyberpunk 2.0, update for Starfield. It's not going to happen. But I mean, they're going to have some fixes, but they think that putting a rover instead of walking, so you're getting me to boredom quicker on these planets. Awesome. Take the shipbuilding out, you have a dog shite game. Sorry, Bethesda, but back to the drawing board, man. So what Bethesda once was, no longer is. That's just my opinion. Bethesda, do you have hope for Elder Scrolls 6? Let me know in the comment section. I plan on purchasing it. I'm going to stay loyal, but I think that they pump too much into these online, like Fallout 76 and ESO. And they just don't really give a shite about the single-player gamer anymore, or so it seems. I know their heads are up the asses of the television series of Fallout, so who knows? Todd Howard, people are losing faith, bruh. I don't know what to tell you. And to end this is Ubisoft. Ubisoft, literally, again, their apex was when Black Flag was released, and after that, you had decent Assassin's Creed games, but let's just start with the last two. Assassin's Creed Mirage, it was very boring, it was very linear, but again, people want linear because they're tired of this endless open world game where you're putting 400 or 500 hours in easy. And you get bored from that. Yeah, you may get new quests, but it's almost like you're regurgitating the same thing over and over. And I'm talking to you, Odyssey and Valhalla. And so, good graphics, beautiful setting, nice combat mechanics, meh. But yeah, and then you had Assassin's Creed Shadows. These people that allegedly do their research for Ubisoft are gone. And then you had these other people come in. You had people robbing this banner reenactment group of 2018 or 2019, using their logo without permission, putting it in feudal Japan when it was literally created only like 6 or 7 years ago. You had a broken Torii gate. You had that was, symbolized their struggle and survival in World War II because it survived the atomic bomb, I believe in Nagasaki. Don't quote me on that, but I do know that they, you have Thomas Lockley, who fictionalized Yasuke, changing the wiki pages to fit the narrative of a book he wrote about a fictional character that was never a samurai, but a bitch and a retainer. So, I'm sorry, I have no faith in Ubisoft anymore at all. Hex looks to be a strong feministic-led game. Enter Tencent, obviously, for good reason. Tencent needs to literally take over because Ubisoft, I think of these three, Ubisoft is in the worst shape of them all. That's hard to say because I know you're like, well, bruh, BioWare's hanging on by a thread. Yeah, well, Ubisoft is about to be 100% owned, it looks like. Or we can only hope. So what Ubisoft once was, no longer is. But anyway, guys, those are the three behemoths that I kind of briefly covered their rise and talked about their fall. I want to hear it from you guys in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you think has the best chance out of these three? I would say Bethesda. That's just my opinion. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I sincerely appreciate it. Please feel free to subscribe to That's Fair Podcasting or Gaming Geeks Live. And if you didn't do any of those and you watched this video and you stuck with me, thank you so much. And again, thank you so much for my first 500 subscribers. You all kick ass. I sincerely appreciate it. Anybody that replies, I will talk to you. I love talking to you guys. Thank you again so much. And to all you gamers out there, all love. And I'm outro.